Purpose does the gentleman from New Jersey seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend the rules and pass H.R. 3743, the Supporting the Foundation for the National Institutes of Health and the Reagan-Udall Foundation for the Food and Drug Administration Act.
Clerk will report the title of the bill.
Union Calendar Number 133, H.R. 3743, a bill to increase funding for the Reagan-Udall Foundation for the Food and Drug Administration and for the Foundation for the National Institutes of Health.
Pursuant to the rule, the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Pallone, and the gentleman from Kentucky, Mr. Guthrie, each will control 20 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from New Jersey.
And Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that all members may have 5 legislative days in which to revise and extend their remarks and include extraneous material in H.R. 3743.
Without objection.
And Mr. Speaker, I yield myself such time as I may consume.
Gentleman from New Jersey is recognized.
I rise today in support of H.R. 3743, the Supporting the Foundation for the National Institutes of Health and the Reagan-Udall Foundation for the Food and Drug Administration Act. The Reagan-Udall Foundation for the FDA is an independent nonprofit organization established by Congress in 2007 to advance the mission of the FDA to modernize medical product development, accelerate innovation, and enhance safety. Likewise, the Foundation for the NIH is an independent nonprofit organization established by Congress in 1990 to develop private-public partnerships that advance biomedical research domestically and globally. Both organizations work to advance the mission of NIH and FDA and have played important roles in our nation's fight against COVID-19. For example, the Foundation for the NIH has worked to coordinate the ACTIVE program that is strategizing our research and prioritizing and speeding development of the most promising COVID-19 vaccines and treatments. Likewise, the Reagan-Udall Foundation's COVID-19 Diagnostics Evidence Accelerator has brought stakeholders together to collect and evaluate real-world data in a way that is scientifically useful and meets FDA standards so we can understand the efficacy of COVID-19 diagnostics in the real world. So, Speaker, the FDA and the NIH are currently authorized to transfer funding to the respective foundations within a statutory limit that has not been increased since 2007. H.R. 2743 would increase the transfer authority for both foundations from up to $1.25 million to up to $5 million. And this legislation will allow the agencies to increase their support consistent with the increasing costs of medical product research and development. This bipartisan bill received unanimous support in the Energy and Commerce Committee. I'd like to thank my colleagues, Representatives HUDSON and Health Subcommittee Chairwoman Eshoo, for their outstanding leadership on this legislation. I urge my colleagues to support H.R. 3743, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman from New Jersey reserves the balance of his time. The gentleman from Kentucky is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield myself as much time as I may consume.
Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today in support of H.R. 3743, the Supporting the Foundation for the National Institutes of Health and the Reagan-Udall Foundation for the Food and Drug Administration Act, led by my Energy and Commerce colleagues, HUDSON and Eshoo. Empowering biomedical innovation in the United States is critical to protecting our global competitiveness. We saw how important it was to invest in creating new treatments during the COVID-19 pandemic, and we need to carry out that momentum into the future. H.R. 3743 authorizes increased transfer authorities from the FDA and the NIH to the Reagan-Udall Foundation and the Foundation for the NIH, respectively. Allowing FDA and NIH to provide increased funding to these public-private partnerships will give the Reagan-Udall Foundation and the Foundation for the NIH more flexibility to meet the growing research demands to ultimately accelerate future medical innovations. I urge my colleagues to support this bill, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman from Kentucky reserves the balance of his time. The gentleman from New Jersey is recognized.
I have no members who wish to speak at this
Gentleman
time.
from New Jersey reserves. Gentleman from Kentucky.
Mr. Speaker, I yield as much time as he may consume to my good friend from North Carolina, Mr. Hudson.
Gentleman from North Carolina is recognized for as much time as he may consume.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of H.R. 3743, supporting the Foundation for NIH and the Reagan-Udall Foundation for FDA Act. I introduced this bipartisan bill, along with my friend, our chairman, Anna Eshoo, to build on our success of public-private partnerships that have produced life-saving medical breakthroughs. The Foundation for NIH and the Reagan-Udall Foundation were created by Congress to support the NIH and the FDA by forging partnerships between the federal government and private industry experts. Providing additional support to these organizations would further accelerate research into novel vaccines, therapeutics, diagnostics, and other innovations, helping us prepare for future emergencies. Due to partnerships such as these, we've already seen the success of the ACTIVE program in speeding developments of COVID-19 vaccines and treatments. It should be noted, we would not be where we are today without the innovation seen in Operation Warp Speed. This public-private partnership has not received the credit it deserves, but created, developed, and manufactured life-saving vaccines in record time. Through my legislation, we can build on these successes and enhance partnerships across our healthcare industry. I thank the chairman for his support and for Ranking Member Guthrie. I urge my colleagues to support this legislation, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Mr. Speaker, I yield back my balance of my time.
Gentleman from Kentucky yields back the balance of his time. The gentleman from New Jersey is recognized.
And Mr. Speaker, I urge support for this bill, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman from New Jersey yields back the balance of his time. The question is, will the House suspend the rules and pass the bill H.R. 3743 as amended? 3743. Those in favor, say aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, 2/3